Digital agriculture is not just about technology, it's about people,
Correct.
skills, and agriculture readiness. Your perspective will help us understand the human side of digital agriculture adoption. So, I will ask you some questions, and according to your expertise, you can answer the questions or you can skip it. Okay?
Okay.
So, can you briefly describe your work in agricultural human resource and what are the types of organizations you support?
Okay. I'm retired from Cornell a long time ago, and I am trained as an agricultural economist, which the questions you actually made sense. But a long time ago, I really switched more to people stuff. What I do now, I don't know, I'm semi-retired. I don't know, I'm mostly retired in that, but um, what I do, my clients are almost all farmers or key employees on farms. Okay, and much of what I do, I call it coaching slash consulting. Okay, because true coaching is, just asking almost 100% questions and teaching people to think for themselves. I do ask a lot of questions, but I also use my experience to provide some ideas for answers as well. So I don't feel comfortable call it strictly coaching. So I call, and it really focuses on supervision. Um, Couple of key things. I mean, I really work. One of the things that I really find is that, we have all kinds of systems for people, and a lot of that technology supports the systems, right? Okay. We don't typically have many systems with people. They should be. You should have a process for hiring and those kind of things. But the most important system you should have is a performance improvement system. Um, many big businesses call it a performance management system. Um, I think you manage things, you coach, lead, and supervise people. This is a people system. So I call it a performance improvement system. And it really has two pieces. The first one is clear expectations, and most employees don't have that. And then you do perform, preferably for a fairly short term, like a month. And then you get some feedback. You can also get it along the way, but you have a little session to compare your expected to your actual, and it's not just whether you made it or not. It's analyzing it information. The other thing that's a piece of that, and I just finished talking to one of the people. He's actually an intern on a farm I work with. The most important thing I think I share is that I 100% believe that our traditional two types of feedback, positive and negative, is wholly inadequate. Okay, and the positive feedback's fine. Okay, and I can talk about that a lot, and you need more than people give. But it's the negative feedback because typically when someone doesn't do their job, doesn't meet the expectations, we provide what we call negative feedback, and that typically means a reprimand, right? Well, here's the key to it. There are really two situations when you don't perform. Okay, one is you had everything you needed and you still didn't get the job done. Okay, our traditional negative feedback might be appropriate there, although I don't like reprimands, I like choices. But the key then is most of the time, employees don't make mistakes on purpose, or very seldom, right? So in most cases, there's some reason outside of themselves, externally or in the situation, not enough training, not enough clarity, the one we talked about. Okay, there's a reason other than just their motivation and energy that they didn't meet the expectation. So typically, managers haven't known what to do in that situation. I think they have an intuition that it's there. I call it redirection feedback. You redirect to success. And the key decide, and then the second key is deciding which of those you need, and that gets to determining root causes. No different than the root cause of when A cow has a problem, you analyze it and look at some data and maybe do some technology and figure out what the problem is, or you go to the doctor with a sore throat. What you're not going to fix the sore throat, you're going to find out why you had a sore throat. And so the key then to which kind of feedback is what's the real root cause.
So I want to go to second question, and this question is very important. I think the most of the agriculture student will be maybe they are looking for this answer from the HR perspective, because if they apply for multiple jobs, as you are already a retired HR or retired human resource, so what skill gaps do you see in today's agriculture workforce that affect the adoption of different kind of tools and technology in agriculture?
Well, part of it is human. Okay. I mean, I think there are a number of reasons for that. And one of them is that you don't have confidence that your employees can succeed with this higher technology, whatever it is. Okay. And so you're probably not going to spend a lot of money on something that you don't think you'll be able to actually implement. Um, yeah, that's certainly one. The other one is that there's still an awful lot of key leaders on farms that really are managers, they're not leaders. Okay. And to me, the big difference between management and leadership in a people standpoint now, where you know I don't like the management term. Okay. Managers do a great job of doing what they're doing now. Leaders look to the future. Okay. What's coming, what could be coming. Um, what I'm trying to think of a term that I really like. I'm not going to come
Can
up
I
with it,
add one more
but I
question?
think that's the second thing. I think those are to me those are kind of the two keys to it's lack of no, part of it comes down to innovation. Okay, they're really not innovators. They'd much rather be milk. Not necessarily milking. Not many leaders manage milk cow. They don't do much of the milking anymore. But they'd rather be working with cows than finances or people or strategy. I mean, we're really talking strategy here in many ways. Okay, I mean if you go to a larger business, they have somebody in charge of strategy, right?
To follow
Most
up your
farms.
answer, I want to ask one more question. As you said, there are like lots of good manager but not good leaders. So to be the leader, what are the qualities that they need to have before going to the industry from your prospect?
Well, that's a tough one because all of the research shows there are no simple answers to that question. And in fact, Harvard just did another project recently. I forget how many hundred managers or leaders they interviewed, probably all size businesses, and they really could not come up with a set of characteristics that, although the one they came up with probably that was the most was being authentic. Okay. And and so it's a very difficult answer, but I think in your context, the most important thing is that they have a leadership mindset. I Cornell for a long time had a program called Cornell Execs, and I taught in that, and I have until it went away. I taught even when I'm now here in Minnesota. Okay, and I did a presentation called Thinking Like a CEO. Okay, which is really thinking like a leader. Okay, and so I think that's, that if you go through the steps in the innovation curve, there aren't a lot of them in the first couple steps. There are
Most of
some, and
the time,
more than there were. I mean, just think about how the industry's changed in my lifetime. Okay, we've gone from an average of what, 15 cows or something like that to the latest average is over 400.
most of the time when I talk with the agriculture students or the people who want to do something in agriculture, I really like got to know after like knowing them, after talking with them for a couple of hours, they will say like they cannot clear out the interview for jobs or some kind of thing. So like what do you think? Why are they not getting the job? Is the job market really saturated in agriculture field, or they are lacking the skills such as confidence, as you tell?
That's an interesting question. Because I'm interested in even in the question because most people talk about the fact that we have a lack of candidates. Okay, and I think, but I'm not arguing with your conclusion because I kind of agree with it. Because one of the things that's happened, okay, and particularly in the dairy industry, we have an interesting thing. We're doing a study right now, okay, and we're trying to interview people who moved into supervisory positions in the same that when they started on the farm in a first line position. And one of the incredible things is the vast majority of the people we found in that situation are Hispanic because farmers do not have a development mindset. But with the Spanish speaking group, they don't have any choice.
Okay.
Yeah. And that you shouldn't probably. That's a very preliminary comment. But so your students are having trouble finding jobs, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
That is fascinating.
Actually, what
Okay.
happened is when I talk with people, I talk with different varieties of people. When I talk with HR, they say that they are lacking the people who studied agriculture, who have knowledge of
Hmm.
agriculture. And if I talk with the students, they say we are lacking jobs. And I don't know who needs to be there in between to connect that gaps, or students themselves need to put forward and like advocate about themselves or be vocal about what they can do or what are the skills that they need to learn in their university days. I know there are like in Cornell, maybe people are getting the lots of practical education or hands-on education, but in universities, R2 universities, they are also teaching agriculture. So how can we make those students like skillful before go to the job industry?
Well, I've been an advocate. Now I'm talking more animals, the dairy part of animal science, but in that arena, and it's spreading too. I've been an advocate that Spanish ought to be a part of the curriculum.
Okay, we are lacking your voice.
I think, I mean, I don't know how many, I don't know whether I mean, crop farm, that's not going, oh, it's get, more and more, all areas are getting people that are bilingual and Spanish speaking. And, so I think someone who in the dairy and or hogs would be the same way. Not so much beef. And I do a fair amount with ranchers. Um, you know, having being capable in Spanish. They wouldn't have to be experts because none of the people they have are, and they aren't. They call it ag Spanish or farmer Spanish, which isn't very good. But I think that would be a heads up.
From an HR
Um,
perspective, what are the challenges do organization face when they are training the employees to use new technology or new digital systems in agriculture? Do you have any challenge while you work in the organization?
Not really. I mean, I suspect your students on coming out probably are better than the people they're interviewing with on technology.
Okay.
So
So do
I
you
don't
have
think
any
I don't
quick
think
tips?
lack of training in technology is the problem. It may be more lack of training and interpersonal skills and decision making and data analysis and the kind of things that we just talked about for 20 minutes or whatever it's been. Um, because farms are looking for that. Okay,
What are
they
hiring and retention issues that make it harder to farms or agriculture business to adopt the digital like things or like whatever to adopt the technology or to talk with the farmers?
I don't know they have much to add to what I've said before. I mean, it's You know, I and I think there's quite a difference between farm and agribusiness, okay? And it's not so much. It's more structural. I mean, more and more today, most of the agribusiness is part, if they're not employees of a major company, they're a franchise of a major company. And so those companies come with some of the kinds of training we're talking about that farms have to recognize its importance.
Okay, actually, like you said, you are working as a consultant nowadays, right? So, if you have to advertise a farm or farmer, advice, sorry, not advertise, advise farm or farmer, so what would you tell in this current scenario? Because fertilizer prices are going up, food price are going up. So, what advice do you want to give to the farm owner or farmer?
Well, remember, I'm not giving that advice. I'm giving people advice. But it's certainly I mean, I think what I'm saying, you got to remember, my clientele are not average. Okay. They're, we describe or I describe my clients as people who want to go from good to great. Okay. And particularly on the people side. And we actually aren't working with the huge dairies. And it's not just dairies. I have ranches and crop farms as well. But, I don't, you know, I mean, I think the thing that everybody's doing right now is just they're pushing the pencil a little bit more, and that may be part of the hiring problem may be, okay, they're not looking, they're looking to get by. Okay, and we all know in most organizations when things get tough, the people are the ones that get laid off or whatever. Now we're not talking about getting too many getting laid off. It's not that kind of a scenario, but it may be that in a better market they might have hired one of your students and now they'll just figure out somebody here to do it or do it themselves, work harder.
So, as you already mentioned, like one of the very key point from our conversation we can know is there are not much leaders, but we are like developing the managers in agriculture industry. So, what do you think to be leader in agriculture? What are the qualities and qualifications do the people need to have in themselves from your perspective? Like you can just give us 5 points or something.
Well, I mean, one, they do have to have good people skills. Okay. Two, they have to have good decision-making skills. Three, they have to understand, this is part of what I teach in the CA, they have to understand the world around them. Okay. I mean, there's I don't know what it is anymore because I don't look in the big picture. But historically, there have been a huge number of dairy farms that have no idea how the price of milk they're receiving is calculated.
So,
Okay.
okay,
And
we are actually,
and
yeah, you can
and
continue.
I guess the fourth one kind of fits, but they have to be development oriented. The growth is not going to stop. Okay. And in fact, change is and AI has done a huge thing with that. Of course, change is happening not only at a fast rate, but an increasing rate. So I guess those four things would.
So we are like,
And I guess if they want to be a farm, I think the other thing is they have to, you know, agriculture has such a commitment that you have to own the rock. You have to own the land. You have to be the owner. Well, today with these large businesses, there are lots of good positions where you don't own the land. I mean, I've never owned a business. Well, business. I always worked for somebody else. That's not bad. Okay, but in agriculture, I mean, the stigma is going away. Okay, but I think they need to think about what are the options. I saw too many students and so forth, go home to a farm that was doomed because they wanted to own it, not go to work for a business that was progressive and they could become maybe a part co-owner at some time, but become a very important position in the organization, herd manager, crop manager, whatever the case might be. And
so
that's changing.
yeah, we already completed the 20 minutes, but I want to ask one last question. And I hope I'm not taking a lot of time. Thank you so much for saying you all the experience. So I want to ask one question, like till the time you have been working, now you are consulting, you are retired HR or whatever the position you are in, what are the like lesson that you have learned you want to share to our audience?
Look for opportunities is one. Okay, and whether that's in your own career, and I think that part of that is, and we don't, I often talk about with farms, being career oriented, hiring people that you think have a chance to stay there as a career. That hasn't been so certainly that would be one. Um, certainly be broad-minded. Um, Always learning. I mean, I think that's, you know, I love to tell a story. This is when I was on the faculty, and it was the last day of class. Okay, and I walked out of my office, and there were three or four, there I happened to all be guys walking down the hall. They just walked out of a classroom, and they were whooping it up and saying, "We'll never have to go to class again." Now, I'm glad they celebrated that they're going to graduate, but the sure as heck, I don't think they really meant it. But yeah, it was an attitude that really struck me. Well, you're never done learning.
Yes, that is
And
actually true.
agriculture is something so broad. I mean, it is the production stuff, but it's marketing now. It's the people stuff, and so you have and the production stuff's still pretty standard of learning about. The other stuff isn't so easy. Okay, even if you want to. I mean, it's not every. We're still kind of state oriented in extension, and not a. There are only four or five of us that do what I do. Um, most states don't have anything, and I get all the Kansas state stuff, don't pick on them, but, and it's great stuff, but they never once mention people.
Yes. So, is there anything that you want to share with me today? So, that is a very good lecture or lesson from your perspective or from your lifetime learning. So, anything.
I think I have. My question is, what are you going to do with what we've just done?
What I do? Actually, I do podcast. I'm not from US. I'm from Nepal and I'm international student. And I
Okay.
came here to know the perspective how the US agriculture is booming up because my country is underdeveloped country and we have lots of opportunities in agriculture field, in dairy fields and in lots of things. So I wanted to connect the people from here to there so that they will find the solutions in a very good way because people from there they don't know how to connect with the people from the biggest country or something. So if I find some kind of dairy related problem or something, I will definitely get back to you because I
Okay.
didn't know you are from the dairy industry, but from the conversation I got to know that you also advocate about dairy and dairy industry. So I will connect to the people and I'm the prospective student for University of Arkansas for agriculture communication. So I wanted to know about how people are doing things, what are the learnings they want to share, and I will reach out to people by going to the university website and I found you there and I contact you. I have lots of list of people. Someone will reply, someone will not, but I want to know what are they doing and how is their life going on, what are the agriculture prospect they have learned in their life and they want to share because I believe that if you share me something that you have learned in your years, then it will be very easier for someone who will be connected to me because I share knowledge, I share education. So that's my prospect. That's it. Nothing. I will not do anything.
One of I mean, Cornell was a great international development place. So I learned a lot. But one of the things that I think is really important when you're not at the top of the heap, okay, is don't necessarily do what they did. Skip steps, jump ahead. That's what everybody talks about in technology. If you're behind, you don't copy what the person ahead of you had, you skip ahead of them.
Yes. So I
Now, maybe
want
you're not
to,
going to skip ahead, but you can skip some steps.
yeah. I want to connect to lots of people who have done lots of great thing in agriculture, but they are very much not in hype. Yes.
Okay,
Thank you so much for your
thank you.
time. Have a good
Yep,
day. Bye.
you too.